All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for this live stream with us. And we are here today very happily with Larry Sharpe. He is the Libertarian candidate for governor of New York, the great state of New York. And as I know, according to the Cato Institute, it is the 50th freest state in the nation. So congratulations, Larry. Good job.
We have beaten California yet again.
Yes. All
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
There you go. So yeah, you can go and kind of get a little background on who you are and why you decided that you wanted to run for governor.
That's a little bit boring, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah, but just get
Yeah.
a little brief history.
All right, I guess I'll give you a little bit. I mean, it's kind of dull, but it's fine. I am a kid born in Manhattan, brought to the Bronx as a youngster. I was adopted. I was raised by Yankee Stadium, big Yankee fan. All those people who like the Mets are wrong. And then as I was a little bit older, around 11, I went out to Suffolk County, Long Island, where I was raised in high school. I left the house when I was 17. My father passed when I was 11 or 12. Very difficult for my family. I took off, went up to Marine Corps, did about 7 years in the Marine Corps, came back, started a small business, left it to my mom, then had a couple other jobs, had another small business, sold that one off, had another job, started this business that I have now. I'm doing for 14 years. I'm a trainer, consultant, and teacher. Teach at several colleges and have some large and some small clients. And was thinking about leaving New York State. Was thinking about packing up and moving, as over 100,000 New Yorkers leave every single year. I was considering being one of those and heading down to North Carolina because it's very hard to live here. Then I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to change some things. I'm going to make something happen. But there was a combination, though, also. Not just that. My worry was, and I am pleasantly surprised that I was wrong, my worry was that in 2016, with the Johnson-Weld ticket, that once the election was over in 2016, that the Libertarian Party would simply kind of just walk away and wait for 4 more years and do nothing for 4 years. I was worried that that was going to be the case. I am pleasantly surprised that Bill Weld and Gary Johnson are still involved. I didn't think they would be. Again, pleasantly surprised. I thought they'd walk away. So I thought, you know what? I need to step up also. So it was perfect timing. I had to step up to do something to keep the party going, right? And at the same time, I saw the hole here in New York State. So it was two things that came together, and it made things a whole lot better. If those of you may have been paying attention, in 2016, when after the election was over, that same night, I actually did a live stream, a video, I should say. I did a video, and I said, look, guys, it's not over. It's good that we did a good job, but there's more. Someone has to push this forward. It'll be me. So I'm trying to, and as you and I were talking earlier, I'm trying to make this kind of campaign that I'm right now in New York the norm for libertarians. And it has not been. The norm for libertarians has been, I'm going to run, and then I'm going to go back home and do nothing, or stand on principle, or that's it. Or worse, I'll just become a mainstream Republican and Democrat and forget about the party. One of those two has been the norm. I don't want it to be that way. I want libertarians to run real campaigns. And you're seeing it happen more and more, but I'm trying to model the behavior that I want by doing it myself.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Trump is president now?
No, I would have done it either way. It wouldn't have mattered if Hillary or Trump or Bernie or whoever would have been the president. I would have done it anyway. The issue is, I thought now is the time. Do I think the timing is good for us in general? Trump being president did teach the savvier politicians some good lessons, but most of the establishment learned nothing from Trump and Bernie. Most learned nothing. But I try to learn a lot from it, so I'm trying to copy some of the things he did and Bernie did, and some of the things that I don't think are good, I'm not copying.
So facing New York, what would you say is the number one issue that you would want to change if you had to change one thing about New York?
No, there are a lot of core issues. And if you hear me talk, I often talk about attacking the root and not the branch.
Right.
And the root is, in New York State, as I think many states, and it's also happening to the country, is centralized control is on a rise. And that's a problem. In New York State, we have the same thing. New York State is very similar to many other states, and that is, even though New York is a blue state and say a state like, say, Oklahoma is a red state, there actually is no such thing as red or blue state. What I mean by that is every state's red, but do you have enough urban centers to turn it blue? Right? So the urban centers actually turn a state blue. If you have more of an urban state, you tend to be bluer. If you have more of a rural state, you tend to be redder. New York State has, of course, the largest city in the country, New York City, in it, which is very blue. But our upstate cities also are very blue. Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, Albany, they're also very blue. So when you have this blue state, blue pieces, and then red throughout the area, even within the blue, Rochester is not New York City. I mean, New York City is 8.5 million people. All the cities upstate New York maybe have 500,000 at the highest. Most have under 300,000. So if you got the metro areas, so they're much smaller. We've decided that Albany should run everything, which is our capital in New York State. We should run everything. And it's not true. We should have counties be counties, towns be towns, regions be regions. And that should be happening in the United States. And it isn't. We're trying to have DC run everything, right? We're all going to be the same. The idea that I win the election and then I get to impose my will upon everybody is the norm, right? You hear them when they say elections have consequences. What they mean by that is, now I rule you. And that's a problem. What government should be, and I speak about it often when I campaign, is government should be enforcing, or I should say protecting, the rights of the individual against the local bullies which constantly pop up. Local bullies will always pop up, guaranteed. Some guy says, I'm super cool, I'm going to take your land with eminent domain, I'm going to stop you from getting a pistol permit, I'm going to stop you from getting a permit to run your business, I'm going to take over the school board and change things. That's always happening. So government should be protecting the rights of the individual. And very often it isn't, because the local bullies are part of the thugocracy within the individual state. So they're all enforcing the king's will. So the king says, we're going to do these bad things, and the local guy decides to enforce them.
So I wanted to ask you about Andrew Cuomo, because obviously you're, trying to beat him. And this is going to be kind of a weird question for you to answer about him.
I doubt it. I've been doing this for a year. I doubt it.
Okay. So is there anything that he's done as governor that you actually respect, or you're like, okay, I understand why you're doing this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he is a very shrewd politician. He has blatantly ignored all conservatives, blatantly attacked Donald Trump, out of his way to attack Donald Trump. It is a very shrewd thing. I don't agree with it at all, but you said, what, I understand it. Yeah, it's perfect. His distraction techniques are amazing, right? So New York State's a disaster. We have all kind of problems. Over 100,000 New Yorkers are literally flooding out of the state every single year. We're the least free state. We're the least friendly to retirement, and we have the most people leaving. So we suck. We're terrible. So what does he do? Let's get Trump. Trump's a bad guy. Great distraction. It works totally, because what Democrats in this state are more afraid of than the actual state collapsing is Donald Trump somehow eating their babies. That is what they're more afraid of. And he knows that. So the distraction he uses by constantly going after Donald Trump is amazing. It works very well. And the problem is the right doesn't get it either. The right thinks it's serious. So the right just says, will you support President Trump? Well, the second that any Republican says that, that Republican will get no Democrat votes. There are only about 2.5 million Republicans in New York State. There's about 6.5 Democrats in New York State. You can't win unless you can get Democrats, or you can get people who don't vote. About 70% of New Yorkers don't vote. Massive amount. Give or take 7 million New Yorkers will not be voting this year. That's a lot. There are about 18, 19 total New Yorkers, about 12 million, give or take, that are eligible to vote, about 10 million who are actually registered to vote, only 4 million or so ever vote. So maybe 5 million at the highest. Last time, 3 point something million voted. So very few. So because of that, if you can't cross the aisle or get new voters, you can't win. So the Republican cannot win at all. He has no chance of victory. The other two third parties have no chance of victory. So Cuomo's doing the right thing. He's ignoring everybody, throwing up distraction. And unless I come ahead and win, he wins. So brilliant tactics by him. He will then be seen as the only guy who's beating up Trump. 2020, he runs for president. He hopes to become the front runner so he can become president of the United States. Well done. Well done, Andrew.
Yeah, he's definitely it definitely looks like he's trying to run for president for sure, with all the money he's raising and all that stuff.
He's raised over $30 million. He still has over $30 million in the bank now. To be clear, he's raised over $30 million. He is winning in every poll. He is the incumbent, and he's raised 30 times his next opponent. His closest opponent has raised about $1 million, and he's still asking for money. Why do you need more money? You have 30 times your next opponent. You're winning every poll. You're the incumbent. You're running for president. That's why.
So what's been your strategy to kind of, I guess, cross over to Democrats and Republicans? Like, what's been your, like what has appealed to Democrats the most when you've talked to them, and same with Republicans?
The funny thing is, Democrats don't like him either. He's not a likable guy. People don't like him at all. Democrats vote for Cuomo because they're afraid of Republicans. Republicans are afraid of Democrats. So look, you gotta remember, this is decades of left telling the right, left saying that the right is evil and the right saying the left is evil. So there's decades of this. So you have so many people who would just never do it. I actually will go into events and I'll say, are there any registered Republicans here? And they'll say, yes, hands go, oh, great. What would it take for you to vote for a Democrat? Silence. We'll hear a thing. And I say, great, Democrats think the same way about you. What does that mean? That means if you can't cross over, you can't win, which means a Republican can't win a statewide election, which means I've been saying, if you want change, I am the only opportunity for change. I've built this election in the true way, which is, it is not actually me against, Democrats, Republicans. It's me against the establishment. The two people who are running in my state, Republican and Democrat, they both are literally career politicians. They have had jobs in politics since they were 18 years old, both of them. So I'm the only guy with no political experience. Yay me. That's the good thing. So I'm the outsider. So this is actually outsider versus establishment. If you like the establishment, go. When I'm at events today, I was in Staten Island at the county fair. Yeah. And I asked a question. Do you know who Larry Sharpe is? I say that. Do you guys know who Larry Sharpe is? And if they know me, they don't. One of the two. If they don't, I say, great. Are you happy with Andrew Cuomo? If they say yes, I say thank you and move on. Because if you're happy with the current governor, you're never going to vote for me. Thank you. Have a nice day. Move on. And I get some of those. But most of the people, they're not. Democrat or Republican, most are not happy with Andrew Cuomo. He's not very popular. So when they say they're not happy, I say, if you want change, I'm the guy. And then they always ask me, what party? Because they're partisan politics. I say libertarian. They go, huh. Which is interesting, because if this were, say, 10 years ago, they would go, no way, and walk away. Now they go, huh. Particularly the youth. The younger you are, the more positive feeling you have about libertarians.
Yeah, that's really good. I guess a lot of the older people would just, they're going to stick to their ways. But yeah, the younger vote.
A lot of older people think that libertarians are hardcore Republicans.
Yeah,
I've heard that before too.
Yeah. A lot of the they say things like, you guys are the Koch brothers are backing you, and I'm like, I wish they were. Tell them to back me. That will be amazing. Here's what people don't get, and be very clear if anyone's watching and paying attention to this and really paying attention closely. This election, my campaign, is the most impactful and most important campaign in the country. What? Larry, you're crazy. No, I'm telling you the truth. Because if I win this, just imagine for a second, if I win this thing, it will change the entire nation overnight. You will find, if I actually became governor of New York, if I win this thing in November, it will tell every person who was going, I can't win. No, I can't run as libertarian. Yes, you can. You can win as libertarian, and you should run as one. You will see some of the best people we've ever had will run in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. You will see the entire duopoly begin to collapse. You will see the monopoly that is just those two parties begin to break apart. You will see everything begin to change. And the weird part is, if someone were to hook me up with a PAC that would give me $2 million, I would win. You said, Larry, you would win? Yes, I'll tell you why I'd win. Right now, in the polls I've been in, 2 polls, QuintonPAC poll and Gravis Marketing poll, people who know who I am, just know who I am, I poll at about 25%. 25%. This is a 5-way race in my state. Most people don't know that either. It's a 5-way race. New York is a plurality state, which means you only have to get more than the rest. which means 30 to 35% can actually win this thing. So I'm 5 points from victory if people know who I am. All I require is name recognition. The way do I get that? Money. Money gets me name recognition. I do that, I win. It's that simple. You want to change this nation literally overnight this year, get some PAC to support me with $2 million so I can get some advertising out there. Boom, the nation is changed overnight. Done deal. It is literally that simple. And most people don't know that, or don't care, or don't believe me, or whatever the case may be. But that's okay. November 7th, I'll have a whole bunch of, I told you so, a lot of that.
Yeah, there was that poll that came out recently that I know you tweeted about where, you're the winner of that poll, which for libertarians is amazing. That never happens.
Yes. Well, the funny part is that poll, the two polls I was talking about earlier were actually scientific polls. The one you're talking about was not a scientific poll. But the funny part is, and this is the thing that people laugh at, they go, well, that's not a scientific poll. That's an online poll. But I win every single online poll. Let me say it again. I win every single online poll. I'm 100% on online polls. Now you might say, wow, so what? It's just an online poll. No, it means I can motivate people to go vote, which is what a politician is supposed to do. It doesn't mean I'm going to win the election, but it means that I'm good at what I do. I motivate people to go vote. Even though it's an online poll, I can still do that. If I win every single online poll, I'm doing something right. With enough backing, this is a winnable race.
So one of our patrons on Patreon was asking, if you do, and this is like kind of somber, but if you do lose, what's next for you?
Yeah, it really depends. If I get crushed and I'm completely wrong and I've completely, I completely misjudged everything and I get like 1 or 2%, I'm finished. Ball game's over. Have a nice day. Larry Sharpe was a nice guy. He's handsome. That's about it. Ball game's over. Just true. I mean, if I get that badly crushed, it means I've completely misjudged everything. All my efforts were for naught. I get it. Done. That's the ball game. But if I do very well, then I can keep going. And my assumption is, let me give you my perfect world, then I'll move down. Is that okay?
Yeah.
In my perfect world, people finally get it. They start throwing money behind me, more than I get already. I've raised over $250,000. I need about another 1.5 million to make sure I win this thing. If I make that happen and that piles in, then guess what? Now I can win this thing. I win this thing. My goal is to deliver New York electorally to whoever runs for president in 2020. That would be amazing, right? Imagine if New York State could be won electorally by a libertarian presidential candidate. If that could happen, then in theory, we could actually have a libertarian president. Because in theory, and this is all theoretical, obviously, but I'm just saying it could happen, with states like that going gold, either side may not get 270 electoral votes, which means it gets kicked to the Congress. There's a chance for an actual libertarian president to actually win in 2020 well, through that loophole. Now, even if it doesn't happen, the idea that that could happen will motivate libertarians throughout the nation to do better, to care, to donate, to volunteer, to mobilize. That hope will move the party forward. And I would love that. That'd be my home run. If I can't get that, no worries. If I lose, no worries. If I do well, I will have changed the conversation in New York State. All the ideas I'm talking about in New York State, how to raise money without using taxation, how to change the education system, how to save money on our education and still have better results, how to support small business, legalizing marijuana and hemp. All these ideas will still come out and New York State will become a better place because people will see it and they'll begin to change anyway. So I still win even if I don't win the election, assuming my ideas keep going. Because if I come in second, which would be amazing if I beat the Republican, there will be literally microphones in my face every day, which is what I want, because then I get to push the ideals, push everything. I can actually make real change in New York, which means I still may be able to, in theory, deliver New York State to libertarian presidential candidate in 2020 anyway, even if I'm not governor. Could still happen. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. But either way, I could change New York. If I come in third, if I do well, then I can still, again, push my agenda, push forward, but not as easy. The only thing that would be bad is if I get crushed.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that, if you do get second, that'd be at least, that would kind of give the Democrats at least some kind of like, oh, man, we actually might have to work harder this time, or
That's correct.
different.
Republicans might want to support the Second Amendment. That Republicans might want to support small business. Republicans might want to actually try to get smaller government. It's possible. Doubt it. It's possible. And Democrats might care about civil liberties. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah,
I would love that. They might do that. That could happen. So yeah, I think we can make a lot of impact. It could definitely happen. People ask me all the time, are you running for president in 2020? No, I'm not.
All right. Well, I guess anybody was wondering.
Some people will be disappointed, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
there are some
all
people
the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I would rather be governor of New York and deliver the state to whoever runs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, down the road, 10, 15, 20 years or so, maybe, but would you ever consider it, or like running for president then, or never?
No, I might in 2024, 2028. It's possible. I don't want to take those maybe. Those are possible. Not 2020. What's possible? Could happen. In 2024, possible. 2028, possible. Yeah. But in my perfect world, I do 2 terms as governor. That'd be awesome. I change New York State. Things go well. Then I start thinking about if I want to go to president or not. That'd be awesome. Let's hope that happens.
So I wanted to ask what your education views are, because you mentioned that quite a lot, that education reform is needed in New York. So what would you specifically do to help the education?
My education system concept is very radical. Most of my stuff is very bold, particularly for New York. And the reason why I say it is New York right now is in a death spiral. It is literally on its way out, and it's about to collapse. And tweaking things is not going to work. So you have to make actual serious changes. Now, the libertarian says, well, we have to just get rid of government schools. That is a fantasy right now in New York State. Not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. You get mad, and things people always say, Larry, you have to just stop banning things and abolishing things. Generally speaking, that's a bad idea. That's not 100% rule, but as a general rule, it is, particularly when you have a state that is really a nanny state. When you have a state that is really heavily a nanny state, you just take things away from them, people make bad decisions. When people are afraid, they make bad decisions, particularly in America. In America, it is very rare that government takes your rights away. Almost always, we actually vote them away because we're afraid. So we want to make sure we don't have scary people. One of the advantages are scared people. We will have scary people, just not scared people. So one of the things you can see is the Soviet Union. As it collapsed, bad decisions, right? When you have a nanny state, the nanny state collapses. If you don't facilitate the next level, people get scared, bad decisions. So what I'm doing with education is severalfold. Number one, I want to get rid of all standardized testing until high school. Right now, standardized testing for little kids, it just makes kids who are poor test takers feel stupid. It creates a second class of student at 10, 11, 12 years old. It's also an unfair way of grading teachers. Teachers should not be graded because of how their students do in testing, like standardized testing. And it's an unfair way of rewarding schools. We fund schools based upon this also as part of our algorithm. It's a terrible idea. Lastly, standardized testing, particularly at that age, have absolutely no indication of success. A kid can be a great test taker and be successful, and a terrible test taker and be successful. No indication whatsoever. That has to go away. But why is that so important? All those things I said, but more importantly, if we do that, guess what else happens? We will lose federal funding. Good. Good. I don't have a problem with that at all. Our budget in New York State is give or take $60 billion. Yes, with a B, $60 billion just for education. That is larger than almost every state's total budget. I'll say it again. That is larger than almost every state's total budget. Florida's entire budget is $85 billion, and they have more people than us. Just our education is $60 billion. $60 billion. $4 billion of that comes from the federal government. We will lose that right away, which is good. I don't want the strings attached. Yes, libertarian, cut the strings. Yes. So yes, we facilitate the next level, right? First thing, cutting strings from federal government. That's a good thing. Why? Because with all those strings comes administrators. Very often, teachers ask me, Larry, how are you going to help me? And what I tell them is, I'm going to get rid of your administrators. A lot of them are going away. Yes, we actually have school districts now in New York State where there are more administrators than there are teachers. That shouldn't exist, but it does. And they're all about, let's keep track of stuff. Everyone who's running for governor says, we need to let teachers teach. Then what do? Add administrators. Yeah. That doesn't really work. No, let teachers teach means remove administrators. But I'm not even done with that. We have a thing in New York State called Common Core. Common Core is a very, very stupid way of teaching. We should not be doing that at all. And it should go away. And it will go away. And I'm okay with that. Let it go away. Lastly, we should not have K through 12. K through 12 is an anachronism. It should not exist. We need K through 10. For the last 2 years of high school, for most of these kids, particularly in New York State, but I'm sure throughout the country, the last 2 years is gym, study hall, video games, and probably smoking weed. Those are your last 2 years. Yeah. How do I know that? Because if you go to college now, the first year of college is 13th grade because the kids aren't ready for school. Of course they aren't. They spent the last 2 years, gym, study hall, video games. Of course they can't. They don't know. How do I know this is true? Because the average kid now takes 6 years to graduate college, a 4-year degree. 6 years. Yeah, that's a problem. Now we have a kid who's 24 years old, never had a job, and we wonder, why do they have no work ethic? Yeah, that'd be the reason why. Right there. That's the reason. Right. So how about we change that? Now, in New York State, we have what's called BOCES. BOCES is basically like a trade school option for people in high school. The problem is that concept in New York State is looked down upon. And most teachers and parents and guidance counselors go, oh, if you're not a smart kid, then you go to BOCES because you're the dumb kid. That's how most of it's looked upon. And that's horrible because it's totally not true. But people believe that. We've been taught that the only way that you can have success is to go to a cool 4-year degree, get a degree, and sit behind a computer screen your entire life. That is a way to success for some people, but it is not the only way to success. And we've been told that lie forever, and it's terrible, and it's not true. Right now in New York State, if you're that kid who goes to BOCES, you become a plumber or a carpenter or something, right? And then you're 24 years old. You've got no debt. The other guy's got 50K at least in debt, not 100K in debt. And there's no job for what he or she was worked on. So now they're working at Starbucks. But the guy who went to trade school, that guy or gal is a plumber making 70K a year with no debt. That's the deal. But in New York State, we have trouble with trades. What do I mean by that? We need tradesmen desperately in the state. The state right now, average tradesman is over 50. That's a bad thing. Your average should be over 30, not over 50, which means what do we need? A massive requirement of foreign labor. They're all coming to New York State to work because we don't have tradesmen. We need more tradesmen, more tradesmen, more tradesmen. Everyone's supposed to be a computer programmer for some reason, whatever, and they're not. So it's not working. So we change it. We make it to where K through 10. K through 10 means once you're 16, 10th grade, take a test. Whether you're homeschooled, private schooled, public schooled, doesn't matter. Take a test. You get a high school diploma. You're finished. You know, say, well, Larry, wait a minute. Now what? Well, now a 16-year-old kid has 5 options. Option 1. You think college is right for you. Awesome. Great. Go to a prep school, 2-year prep school, which gets you to the school you want to get to, prepares you for that kind of school so that when you get there, you are ready to rock and roll. You know what you need to know, prepared. And when you get there, you can take advantage of things like internships, incubators, maybe even graduate in 3 years. You're ready to rock and roll. That's what I want us to do. But here's the best part. Last 2 years, 11th and 12th grade, in that prep school is only kids who want to be in that prep school. Can you imagine 11th and 12th grade, only kids who want to be there. Teachers who want to be there. No one who's mad or annoyed or sad or being bullied. None of that. It's only people who want to be there. Community and purpose for 17, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. What an entirely different way of learning that would be, depending on what prep school you want to go to. But you don't like prep school because you know what? You're super smart. You're a genius. You're Einstein. You're awesome, man. You want to become a scientist. I love it. You're great at taking SATs and testing. Good for you. Start your degree now. Go get an associate's degree. 2 years, associate degree. You're going to go off to be a PhD in something anyway. You'll be a scientist. Go. Start now. You get yourself into school right away. You decide college is not for you. No worries. Go to trade school. Go to a 2-year trade school. You get out when you're 18. You got some kind of skill set. You're an apprentice, or maybe you have a license, and now become a plumber or become a carpenter, whatever. Be a tradesman. It's awesome. We need them in a state. Do it. Next, you don't want any of those things. I got an idea. Get a job. Get a job. Go to work. We're like, oh no, they're 16. So what? Learn what it is to have a boss. Learn what it is to have to be to work on time. Learn what it is to get a paycheck and look at taxes and go, taxes suck. Learn that at 16. That's awesome. We have a lot of people, an entire generation of kids now in their 20s, who if you were to ask them, do you feel like an adult? Over half will say no. Yeah. That's a problem. And that's heavily because of our education system. I mean, think about it. We have a system that says stay on your mom or dad's insurance till you're 24 years old. That would have been unheard of 50 years ago. Unheard of. Now it's the norm. So we're coddling our children even more and wondering why they don't feel like adults. Coddling them even more and wondering why there's no work ethic. Well, the system is doing it. Lastly, it's not a business. You're 16, it's internet. Good luck. Go do it. Enjoy. You might say about Larry, they're 16. They'll make mistakes. Good. Make mistakes at 16, not 26. The cost of failure, the price of making a mistake at 16 is minimal. It's much bigger at 26. Huger at 26. Nothing at 16. Nothing at 16. You screw up at 16, so what? Mom and dad are right there. Right there. You want to be going back to mom and dad at 26? Too many of us are. Too many Americans are going back to mom and dad at 26, 27, 28. We should be going back to mom and dad at 16. Much better. I don't mind if they make a mistake. Let them make a mistake at 16, figure things out. What I always hear also though was, Larry, how are you going to pay for it? Here's how you pay for it. New York State right now says that by our Constitution, we must pay for all 12 years of school. Okay. When I was in the Marine Corps, when I got out, I got the GI Bill. The GI Bill said you have X number of years to use Y number of dollars.
Right.
The same thing. Every New York City kid, every New York State kid at 16 from the government will get to go to whatever school they want to go to 5 years and 20K. 5 years, 20K. Good luck. What's going to happen? A bunch of schools are going to pop up. They're going to be prep schools. They're going to be trade schools. They're going to be associate degree programs. And guess how much they're going to cost for 2 years? $20,000. Yes, they will.
Wow.
Of course they will. Of course. Well, I'm sorry?
I was going to say, that's so expensive.
We pay $22,000 per kid in New York State. $22,000 per year per kid. It would cost us $44,000. Now it's going to cost us $20,000. We just saved $24,000. Yes, that's how bad New York State is. $20,000 is a bargain. A bargain. But guess what else just happened? We just privatized grades 11 and 12.
Oh, I was going to say earlier, I wish that your education plan had worked in our generation now, because if I had had that option, then I would have avoided a lot of mistakes.
Absolutely. Yes. And the worst part is you have a lot of kids who get forced into going to college when they shouldn't be going to college. So they go off to college, they mess up, screw around, half get a job, half don't have an actual career. Now they're 28 years old and they go, God, I just want to build houses. And then they go build houses.
Yeah.
They basically threw 10 years of their life away. They should have built a house at 18. But we forced them into this paradigm that doesn't exist, right? It's silly. If you give kids choices early, and I'll go one step further. The average kid now, if you're 18, 19, 20, you're not going to have 5 jobs. You're going to have 5 careers. I'm not making that up. 5 different careers. You're probably going to work past your 70s. Why? One or two things. You're going to be healthy enough. The odds are you'll be healthy enough because of modern medicine, you probably will be. And either you're going to say, you know what, I'm bored, I can work, I want to work, or I want to have a better lifestyle. I don't want to go to vacation once, I want to go to vacation twice a year. So I got to work to make more money so I can go on my vacation twice a year. So the odds are going to work into your 70s even. So you're going to have 5 different careers. Plus, whatever career you have now, 20 years from now, may not exist anymore. I'm not making that up. Whatever you do now, 20 years from now, may not exist anymore. That's how technology moves forward. So why in the world do we have an education system that's from the industrial world? This is a post-industrial world. It doesn't make any sense. The whole system has to change. College shouldn't be for 18, 19-year-olds. College should be for anybody who wants to change whenever they want to change, whether that's 18, 28, 38, 48, 58. There are lots of people going back to school in their 40s and 50s because they have to relearn something because their job went away. It doesn't exist anymore. That happens all the time. Companies go out of business. Their job is now done by AI or their job is done by technology. Happens all the time. So why in the world do we have this outdated, backward system? Our answer has been, we need to give more kids college. So let's give more kids crap that doesn't work. And then let's tax people to give them more of that crap that doesn't work. And then since we're giving them even more crap, It has even less value than it had before because now it's free. Brilliant idea. But that's our idea right now. And it's terrible.
Yeah, a lot of the things that I guess we learn in school is just completely useless.
Totally useless.
You know,
Absolutely.
like you don't know anything about taxes when you get out. Like, oh, how do I fill out a tax form? I don't know.
Which is why if you had a prep school at 16, which is not run by the government, which is run by the consumer would say, teach my kid some stuff he or she needs, and there'll be no centralized control, which means the school will actually teach things like how to balance your checkbook, how to do online banking, how to file your taxes, all those things. Yes, how to pay rent, the things that people actually care about, how to get a car loan, what is the difference between a mortgage and renting. Yeah. Most kids don't know what that is. Teach them that. What's an APR? People don't know what that is, but it crushes them. That's why you have so many people in their 20s with terrible credit. They have no idea what credit is. Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. This system will change all of that. I'm hoping, again, even if I lose, just talking about this, people will hear it. It'll begin to change. Someone will take care of it. Someone will start it. It'll begin to shift.
What do you think has been the biggest thing that you've learned so far since you've talked to people? Like, you know, for example, your education idea. What has been the biggest kind of, I don't know, I guess.
Like feedback?
Yeah, feedback that you've gotten.
They all love it. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. Which is why I'm saying, you give me $2 million, I win.
So
everyone loves it.
Anyone who's watching right now, if
you happen to have $2 million, you happen to have it later around. There we go. Well, actually, you can't give me $2 million. To be full with you, with my my finance rules, you can only give me $44,000. So if you're going to give me $45,000, you can't. You can only do $44,000.
Do you think teachers unions have anything to do with how the education system is now?
Of course. They all want status quo. But the funny thing is the actual teachers, the vast majority of them actually like me. And when I talk to them about it, they love it. But the unions are against it because the unions like status quo. Unions prefer status quo. The actual teachers don't. Which I don't mind. Look, I'm not anti-union in any way, shape, or form. People think I am. I'm not. Look, collective bargaining is a form of freedom of association and freedom of speech. Everyone who wants to get together to bargain collectively should be able to. At the same time, I'm very happy with the Janus decision, which says you don't have to be part of a union if you don't want to be part of a union. I'm totally okay with that. What that should do, and I hope what it will do, is it'll make unions become better unions so that people actually want to join them. My also hope is I'm hoping that there'll be multiple unions, which would really make me happy if that would happen. There'd be 2 or 3 different unions and you could join. That would be awesome because that would make better unions.
Now, I can only imagine how some libertarians feel about that because a lot of libertarians aren't, you know, they don't like unions at all or anything like, you know, anything government that's, you know, pro-government. I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, but with the Janus decision, it takes that away, right? Now you don't have to be a part of a union if you don't want to, which is great. That's what it should be, right? Unions, again, unions are collective bargaining. I don't know why a libertarian would say that collective bargaining is bad. It is literally freedom of association plus freedom of speech. You should be able to bargain collectively if you want to. My issue is the forced part.
Yeah.
And now that part's gone. With that part being gone, I'm good. I'm good. In fact, again, I hope there are multiple unions, which means each union would have to be better for its own people, which means you could choose which union to join or no union, whatever the case may be. Now, that would be difficult because some people would have to have different contracts for the same job. So what? I don't have a problem with that, right? You get contract A because you're with union A. You get contract B because you're with union B. And then she gets whatever contract she negotiates because she doesn't want to be part of a union. So fine. No worries. I think that's the way it should be.
Creates competition.
And gives you freedom. Maybe you don't want to be part of a union. Maybe you can start a better union. And look, if your union doesn't provide enough value for either the members and or the business, then it dies. If it provides value for its members and the business, we're good.
So what do you believe is the kind of shift from the education to more of the economic? What do you think is the efficient tax rate that it should be in New York?
I don't know what that means.
like, obviously you want to lower taxes, correct?
Nope.
No.
No. I'm not about lowering taxes, and it's drives people crazy, because if you just lower taxes, you don't do anything. You have to lower spending. You have to reduce spending. Lowering taxes is actually a bad thing. And that sounds crazy, but it is, because if you lower taxes, you do one of two things. You either do what they say, well, my tax cut is revenue neutral. That's horrible. If it's revenue neutral, it's not a tax cut. It simply means I've shifted the burden off of one guy onto another guy, but we're still at taxes. Terrible. Or it just builds up more debt. Not the right answer. What I want to do is I want to reduce spending and raise money through ways other than taxation, so that I can create surplus at the county level, and the counties can then lower taxes locally. This is a better way of making things happen, because if you lower spending, you create surpluses, you can then start lowering taxes. This is the most important piece. And some people don't like that. They think, well, you lower taxes and magically more money comes in. It's not how it works. Government never stops spending is the problem. In theory, it would work, but government doesn't stop spending. So you can lower tax rates all you want, bring more money in, the government will just spend more money. So you have to lower spending, and that's a critical piece. One of the things I've spoken about often, you might have heard before, is that you have leasing naming rights for infrastructure. New York State has so much infrastructure. We have bridges and tunnels and roadways and the Erie Canal and so much. It's insane. We should be leasing out naming rights. I want to retain the asset, obviously, but why in the world wouldn't we start naming some of our bridges and tunnels? You lease out the naming rights for a bridge in New York City. New York City Bridge is crossed by hundreds of thousands of cars every single day. It is mentioned hundreds of times every single day during rush hour in a 16 million person metro area. Let me say that again. 16 million person metro area. These are companies that drop $20 billion on a stadium that's used on a weekend. They will easily drop $100,000, $100 million a year for a bridge. Of course they would. We do that, we will raise literally billions of dollars just doing that. This is raising revenue without one taxpayer dollar. But even more important, part of the deal, if you get the bridge, the lease naming rights, is you take care of maintenance. If you take care of maintenance, guess what else happens? No spending on maintenance. The state doesn't spend the money on maintenance. Lowering spending, raising revenue without taxation, lowering spending on top of it, and the less money the government's putting out, the less corruption. You just lower corruption. Not just that. If you have been to New York City, have you guys been to New York City before?
Yeah, for me, part of my, well, basically all my mom's family lives in Long Island, actually.
Ah, there we go. So
Yeah.
you know how all the tolls and all the bridges, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Now
so.
the tolls go away. No need for tolls anymore. So no tolls. So the average person gets around better. On top of that, truckers who cross these bridges drop $100 every single time they cross a bridge, and raise money and lower spending with one idea. This is what I'm talking about. You start doing this, it will change everything. There is an interstate in upstate New York, I-81, which is completely collapsing. And everyone's saying, how are we going to fund this thing? I said, I don't want to fund it. They said, what? I said, I'm not going to fund this thing. It's a disaster. But we got to fund it. We need a road. Nope. Google Road. All we're going to do is say, Google, would you like to have a Google Road right next to this road? You would? Awesome. Build your Google Road next to this road. So if you do, it can be driverless cars, it can be Ubers, it can be whatever you want. It's your road. In fact, we'll call it Google Road. And your rent to have this road is you must maintain the regular road next to it. If you maintain the road next to it, you keep the Google Road. Enjoy. Done. We get a regular road and a Google Road, and no taxpayer pays one dime. Now you have a choice. You like Google Roads? Jump on it. Get the driverless car, pay whatever you want to pay. Google will charge whatever it wants to charge. I don't care. It's a Google Road. They own the road. Do what you want. The road next to it is a regular interstate. You don't want to use it? Drive an interstate. Your choice. Consumer decides what should be done. If the Google Road is successful, awesome. We'll extend it. If it's not, awesome. We're done. Google, good luck.
So it's kind of like sports stadiums when they get named like Toyota's, stadium or something like that.
Well, in this case, I-81 is still I-81. There's a Google Road next to it.
Okay.
Right? So in this case, there's no naming rights. In this case, they get the land next to it to create their own road. So it's their road, but that road next to it is still I-81. Doesn't change.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not crazy. This is stuff that has been done. We already have adopt the highway plans already to clean the highway. So let's do
that's
it
true.
Yes, it's not crazy. Let's do it for maintenance instead. And we have a Google Road next to it. And if everyone uses the Google Road, maybe we don't need I-81 anymore.
I can see people using that.
But my point, you keep seeing everything I'm doing is facilitating another answer. I'm facilitating a shift away from taxation being the only way we get what we want. I'm shifting a mindset away from government must fund everything. I'm shifting away from the old ways are the only ways. I'm facilitating brand new ideas. That's what I'm trying to achieve.
So someone in the chat is asking us about this. What about privately owned land next to 81? How would Google get the land?
Yeah, well, assuming that there's almost always, when you have these large highways, there's lots of land on both sides. Almost, and I want to think is no exception. So there's plenty of land for Google to have. It's not an issue. But if there was any private land, we'd ask to purchase it. If not, we have to find a way of getting around it, over it, under it. I'm not a fan of eminent domain. Eminent domain should only be used in two circumstances specifically. One, if not using it would cause harm to someone. And two, there is no other answer. That is the only way we should use eminent domain. Otherwise, I would not be in favor of using eminent domain. But again, if Google wants to buy the road and there's one guy who's holding out, the odds are Google can write a check to this one guy and he'll either buy the land or rent the land or whatever. If not, we'll find a way around it. We'll shift and move it. We'll find an answer. Did I answer his question? Is he happy now? Or is he still mad at me?
No. Well, someone's asking, they want to know your thoughts on juvenile sex offenders, but they didn't really it has a specific question.
They're bad.
Well, I mean, yeah,
that's
kind of
question.
That's like, what do you think about Nazis?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of our patrons was actually wanted to ask you before this started. You've mentioned occupational licensing about, why do you need a license to braid your hair or something like that?
All the time.
So their question is, would your view on occupational licensing potentially cause issues with a marijuana legalization process and the poor everyman attempting to profit legitimately from it?
Can you say that again?
Would your views on occupational licensing potentially cause issues with a marijuana legalization process and the everyman attempting to profit from it?
No, not at all. As I said before, I want to actually have two sides. First side, my rule on licensing is very simple. Would you ask your friend to do it? That's my rule. And I would ask you, would you ask your friend to braid your hair? Would you?
Oh, yeah. Maybe, yeah.
Well, not your hair.
Well, yeah, not my hair, yeah.
Okay, but you would, right? I mean, it's something that you'd ask your friend to do, right?
Right.
License. Would you ask your friend to walk your dog if you had a dog?
Yeah.
Would you? So we'll have a license. No need for a license. But those are licenses in New York State. Would you ask your friend to, say, remove your appendix?
No.
No, get a license. Fine. That's my rule, right? If you wouldn't ask your friend to do it, let's think about getting a license, right? When it comes to marijuana, cannabis and hemp should be regulated, as I said, like onions. I'm not joking when I say like onions. Can you grow onions in your backyard?
Yeah.
Could, yeah.
Then grow cannabis or hemp in your backyard. I'm fine with that. I don't mind at all. Look, the reason why cannabis and hemp should be legalized, many reasons. Number one, if I just decriminalize it, I have a problem. So I kind of want to legalize it as long as I regulate it like onions. So if you consider that decriminalization, I'm fine. If you think that's legalization, I don't care what your term is. What I mean is I want to make it like onions. Here's several reasons why. Number one, I want to give the small farmer in New York State a chance. The small farmer in New York State is getting destroyed. But if they can now specialize in either hemp or cannabis, they have a chance at victory. But not just that. I want to treat a small farmer like a small business, which means if they want to create their own products on site, they can. Specialized cannabis products, specialized hemp products, all good. Enjoy, chance for victory. But something else I hear, particularly for some reason, only women have told me this. They say, Larry, I smoke a little marijuana at night because I have chronic pain. There are lots of people who have chronic pain. And their options are either have their son or daughter go buy marijuana and hope they don't go to jail. Suffer is another option. Or they have to take an opioid. An opioid means possible addiction, all kind of problems. How about instead use a cannabis product, right? And if you don't have much money, you're poor, great. Grow your medicine in your backyard. I'm okay with that. No worries. I don't mind at all. I don't want people to suffer. I want happy New Yorkers. People say, but Larry, it's wrong. My desire to be righteous is very low. I'm not about being righteous. I'm about happy New Yorkers. Happy New Yorkers means less people leave, more stay, more come back, families stay together. Our environment in New York is so bad, it literally crushes families. I don't want that anymore. I want to change that. So yes, we should have that. It shouldn't affect it at all because I don't want a specialized license. There's a problem that's happened in Colorado now. One of the issues about Colorado is all the people who are homeless, right? All the homeless people came. They don't realize there's a huge reason why that happened. Not the only reason, but it's a big reason. That's because licensing. What happened was so many people when Colorado legalized marijuana is people who are in the industry, particularly those who had criminal records, flocked to Colorado, thinking I'll come to Colorado, I'll get in the industry, I have a second chance at life, and they rushed to Colorado. And the licensing was so stringent, none of them could get the license, so they couldn't get the jobs. What does that mean? Well, now they're all homeless.
Yeah.
New York State will not have that. New York State will just go. There won't be a special license for marijuana or hemp. That's a really bad idea. If you create specialized licensing, here's what I promise you. Big business wins, small business loses. That's how that works. In New York State, you can just come and start a farm and have hemp and marijuana products. Enjoy. There will not be that problem here.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too with Colorado. I visited Colorado a few times this year, and there is a serious homeless problem now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And a lot of that was because people rushed over there thinking they were going to start their life anew. And they couldn't. And they sold all their goods and they sold everything and rushed to Colorado thinking they're going to get a new life. They weren't.
Yeah, marijuana is an interesting topic because, you know, there's people who are convinced that it's harmful and it's terrible for you. You know, have you come across people like that?
Absolutely. And they're going to be righteous and vote Republican and throw their vote away. Those people are going to be righteous, vote Republican, and throw their vote away. That's what's going to happen. But the reality of it is, most people, it isn't that big a deal for them. It isn't. Most people don't like it, but say, fine, whatever. It's already being done anyway. Yeah. Those who know it already know it's being done anyway, all over the place. People are smoking marijuana all over the place anyway. So let's stop making money from it and tax it like everything else and give people opportunity. Doesn't make any sense. The guy told me this once at a fair in upstate New York. He said, yeah, Larry, I just want my guns. I want my Second Amendment rights. I said, I know. He goes, how you get to the left? I said, I'm going to give them cannabis and hemp. He goes, I don't care about cannabis and hemp. I care about my guns. I said, see that? We're going to win. That's it. That's a guy who actually doesn't care about hemp or marijuana at all. It means nothing to him. He's like, whatever, I don't care. I just want Second Amendment rights. I will support his Second Amendment rights as I will support hemp and cannabis, and we'll win.
Okay, so the guy that was asking about the sex question earlier, they actually put it into a question. So let me try and see if I can make it as best as possible. But okay, so they're saying
use this question.
Well, they're saying the age that is prosecuted for sex crimes more than any other age is age 14. Under Megan's law, teen lives are being ruined for engaging in consensual sex. What will Larry do about this?
Yeah, there is a big issue here, and that is we're assuming that because people are underage, that means it is statutory rape. That means it's a sex crime, and it simply isn't true. The age gap is what matters more than anything else. If two 15-year-olds have sex, that's not statutory rape and shouldn't be a sex crime. Just shouldn't be, particularly in our over-sexualized environment that we have right now. I know I have a daughter who's 14. My daughter's 14, and she deals with sex pressure at 14. That's how it works. Yeah. I'm open with her and I talk to her about it, but I hope she doesn't have sex at 14. But if she does, that's not a crime, right? As long as she chose to. I hope she doesn't. But as long as she, it's not a crime. It isn't. I mean, unless, of course, the boy, of course, is 18, then yes, of course, if the boy is an adult, that's different. But because teens are having sex, or worse, this is the worst part, is a boy will send a picture of his genitalia to a girl, thinking that it's a funny joke or ha ha ha, or thinking that she wants it or something. Yeah, he's 15. He's 16. He doesn't know any better. Now that's child pornography, and now it's a sex crime. This stuff has to end. This is silly. Don't get me wrong. I do not want some 16-year-old boy sending his picture of his genitalia to some girl or whatever the case may be. Doesn't make him a criminal. It's a mistake. Teach him. Move on. If he's an adult, he knows better. Punish him. There's the issue. If you're an adult, you know better. Punished. If you're 18, you know better. You shouldn't be sending your junk to someone who's under 18. That's silly. You do that, you're getting punished. Shame on you. But you're two 15-year-olds, you learn better. You don't know any better. Do you remember what it was to be 15? I do. I was an idiot.
Yeah.
I was an idiot.
Yeah.
And I might have done that because my friends said it would be cool to do it, or I dare you. And I probably would have done it because some guy said I dare you because I want to be macho or whatever when I was 15. I probably would have done that. The idea that we're punishing people at that young age is silly.
All right. So we're almost at an hour, and I wanted to I don't want to take too much of your time. So I wanted to do a kind of a lightning round with you to kind of ask you some really serious questions.
So you decided really serious questions. You'll give me 10 seconds to answer them. Thank you.
I know, right?
Very serious.
Yeah. Okay. So the first question that I want to ask you is 1 scoop or 2 scoops of ice cream?
I'm on keto, so 0 scoops.
Good answer.
Oh, keto. Yeah.
Yes. I have been on keto for about 7 years now, 8 years now. Do you want to hear my story?
Yeah, because we're
on keto actually.
So. Yeah, we were on Whole30 as well.
So I went because of desperation. About 8 years ago, I had a very horrible time in my life. My daughter was almost died. She had open heart surgery at 18 days old. Wow. At that point, my wife literally packed up and moved into the hospital and left me as a single dad of my at that point 6-year-old. She was 6 at the time. My oldest was 6 at the time. My youngest was 18 days old. And so I all of a sudden became a single dad. But not just that. The same exact week, my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And not just that. This was the end of my business. I was trying to hold on from the crash, and I just couldn't hold on anymore. I was collapsing. I was firing my employees, closed my business down. It was a disaster. Everything was collapsing around me. My business, my family, my mom, my marriage, everything was collapsing at the same time. And I became a stress eater. And I was never a stress eater before, but I started eating my emotions. I was self-medicating with food. And literally I was eating a full pizza, a full pie, and a 2-liter Coke for lunch and thinking that's normal. Everyone does that, because I was in denial. So I couldn't believe it. And I was isolating myself because I didn't want everyone to see how bad things were. So there was no one around me to say, Larry, don't do this, man. This is bad. There was no one to tell me that. So all of a sudden I found out I put on like 25 pounds in like 2 months. I just put on a bunch of weight. I piled the weight on to the point where I couldn't fit in my suits anymore. So I thought, okay, I got to get back to work. I got to get my business back on track. I got to get my family back in the gear. I got to do something. So I realized, what can I do? Diets don't work. It's got to be a lifestyle change. My schedule is a disaster, so I can't be a gym rat. What am I going to do? I thought I'll go no carb, low carb. That's what I'll do. And when I started, I became a fanatic. I became a fanatic because I look back now, I can tell I didn't know why then. I wanted control of something. I had control of nothing in my life. So having control of my diet gave me some power. So I was a fanatic. I had no carbs. I was like eating eggs and steak every day, and that was it. I was insane. Totally no carbs. I lost 40 pounds in about 2 months, and I haven't put it back on since. So I've been keto for about 8 years now.
Yeah, we've been doing that for a while as well, and we're actually going to be doing the carnivore diet for a little bit to kind of experiment with that. I don't know if you've heard of what that is, but I mean,
it's like
I don't know.
Carb. Basically, like no vegetables either.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I started it, and that's how I lost so much weight. Now I'm keto. I have vegetables. I have some carbs here or there, and once in a while I'll have, like, every couple of months I may have like a hamburger with some bread, maybe, but it's rare. Every once in a while.
Yeah, I know what it's like to eat a whole pizza pie. Yeah, you definitely feel it afterwards.
Yes, but not when you're depressed and medicating yourself. You don't.
Yeah.
Actually, you feel good when you're medicating yourself. You know, people who medicate with either food or carbs or drugs, there's a reason why they do it. It works. So they do it. It worked for me.
Yeah, it definitely worked for us too. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
Glad that worked for you. So the second question is bone in or bone out chicken wings?
No chicken wings.
All
If
right.
you were having them, yeah. Now the questions don't really apply
yeah,
because
that's
they're
true.
not. They're not.
Because chicken wings have a barbecue sauce on them and have carbs.
So what if you just had like this, you just took them out of the, or I don't know. Anyway.
Then bone in.
All
Okay.
right. Screw that one. Okay. So how do you like your steak cooked then?
Medium rare.
Perfect. Real libertarian.
Yes. Medium rare. Yes.
All right. So I guess obviously there's going to be very limited, but favorite beverage of choice?
Coffee.
That's nice. That's mine too.
Yes. Coffee.
Okay. So
I say I survive on 2 things: protein and caffeine.
nice.
Yeah.
The only drug I use, by the way, I'm totally, I let people, I'm totally about letting people do whatever drugs they want to do. It's not my position, but the only drug I ever use is caffeine.
Okay. So
I don't even drink.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, that's something we got to work on, I think, right?
Yeah.
You can drink if you want to. It's up to you. I'm just saying I don't. Please drink if you want to drink.
Though.
Yeah, that's true.
Drink if you want to drink.
Okay, so the last one, and I know again you probably don't eat pizza as much or if and ever.
But when you did.
Yeah, but when you did.
My favorite pizza, without question, is pepperoni and mushroom.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
What about pineapple though? Would you ever?
Pineapple should be against the law.
Oh.
No.
Without question, as a general rule, that there is only one exception when it comes to a NAP violation, and the non-aggression principle violation is pineapple on pizza.
Come on.
I am from New York, which means that is horrible. And what should happen is if when you're caught having pineapple on pizza, you apologize. If you apologize for it, you should only do 10 years hard labor in prison. If you don't apologize, summary execution.
Oh my God! What
Done.
I guess we're going to jail.
Yeah,
That's it. Done.
If we live in New York, it's over.
That's it. Pineapple on pizza, no way. Summary execution. Sorry.
All right.
It sounds like a great way to end the live stream.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Hey.
Ending a live stream on summary execution. You can't beat that, can you? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's it.
But anyway, thank you so much, Larry. It's been a
pleasure.
Yeah, it's been awesome that you were here. And again, Larry Sharpe. That's with an E. The E stands for electable.
Yes, it does. Thank you, guys.
No problem. Thanks everyone for joining, and have a good night, everyone.
Yep. Have a good night.